edition of Conversations with Cal. Today we have a very, very special guest with us today. We have Mr. Bill Lowman, and we got a lot to break down today. So I'm gonna call you Uncle Huggy. You're my Uncle Huggy, Hug, Willie, all of that. So Uncle Hug, how you doing? How you been?
I've been good, Cal. I'll just tell you, I've watched Conversations with Cal. I like it. I like it a lot. And I'm honored to be a guest on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and I want to get started and kind of talk about your journey and where you're from and kind of how you and I got to meet and become friends. So, um, you grew up in the Buffalo area, and you grew up with my father, Pat Deneke. So, I want you to just kind of break down what was it like growing up in Buffalo in the '60s and '70s, and kind of share a little bit about your childhood and what that was like out west or out on the East Coast.
Sure. Maybe if you don't mind, if I ask you a question first, is that a Sammy Watkins jersey? Is that a Ryan Fitzpatrick jersey? What
It is.
jersey is that?
It's a Sammy Watkins jersey. So I got this back in 2015, and as you can tell, we're both Bills fans. So have tried to convert it to a Stephon Diggs jersey, but have been unsuccessful. So I'm just going to leave it with the Watkins. And you could share a little bit about your jersey too first, if you didn't mind.
I don't mind at all. This is number 86, and I'll turn around, Cal, and it says Briscoe. This is a Marlon Briscoe jersey. Marlon Briscoe played for the Bills. I believe it would have been 1970 to 72. Um, Marlon owns the distinction of being the first black quarterback to start a game in the NFL. And he started that for the Denver Broncos. Was a backup quarterback. Someone got hurt. He went in, played like half the season, did really well, but the Broncos traded him to the Bills, and the Bills didn't want to play him a quarterback. They moved him to wide receiver. And then after a couple of years, he went on to the Miami Dolphins and has a Super Bowl ring. But I just feel like it's a special jersey. Uh, Marlon Briscoe is a pioneer.
Hmm.
And I think that his story, not a lot of people know his story. He died in the past year. He's a Northern California Bay Area guy.
Hmm.
But this is my shout out to him. I wore this to this jersey to Super Bowl 50 when the Panthers lost to the Denver Broncos. So I wear this jersey for special occasions.
Okay. Well, speaking of Buffalo, tell us where this all started. Tell us what was it like back in the day.
Yeah, back then and today, Cal, I would say that Buffalo is all about the Bills. And you lived and breathed the Bills then, and you obviously the city still does now, although I haven't been lived there in 30 years. But growing up there, and I grew up with your dad. I think your dad and I became friends with first grade. And I think the difference today, and growing up in the 60s and 70s is, man, we just played outside all the time. It was like there were, none of these, not, no laptop, no earphones. And you just engaged and played. And we had a place we met virtually every day, certainly every day that we didn't have school. It was a playground at an elementary school. We would meet there and just play, from morning till night. I think it's different today. I drive down my street and you don't really see kids or people playing stickball or the different versions of baseball that we played. So um, it was a great community. In many ways, that where we grew up, Hamburg, New York, a suburb of Buffalo, I still consider home, even though I haven't lived there in about 30 years. But it was, I just really enjoyed my childhood, and I made a lifelong friend with your old man. So
Well, that's awesome. I know for my childhood, our vacations consisted of driving out to Hamburg and driving out to the Buffalo area and seeing my grandma, seeing my aunts, uncles, and cousins. And for my dad to take me to the spots that he grew up at and play at the park. And a lot of times you would be there with your kids, and it was just a cool home away from home for me. So a lot of love for Western New York, and thank you for sharing that. So I wanted
Yeah,
to get in
you know
next.
what's funny, Cal?
Uh-huh.
I was
What's
just
up?
talking about this with my one of my kids the other day, and how you know they talked to other people about vacations they went on as kids. Did you go to Disney World? Did you go to Hawaii? Did you go here? And they were like, no, we went to Buffalo. We went to Buffalo to see grandma and aunts, uncles, friends, and that was really the extent of our vacations.
Mhm. And that's what it was like in my family too, and I'm forever grateful for it. So I appreciate you sharing that. So could you talk a little bit next into what you did in college, where you went to college, and what was that experience like for you?
So God, it was a great experience for me. I just loved those years. I went to college, Fredonia State University, um, and it's about an hour from Buffalo. So I kind of had the benefit. It was I went away to school. I lived on campus and in an off-campus apartment. So I did get away, and that's part of the learning and growing up is living away from home. But I was close enough where I could go back. And those were great years. Still have a lot of friends from there, and a lot of my college experience that I enjoyed so much was playing baseball,
Mhm.
and that was. I love baseball. I love playing. I love my teammates. And when I think of college, I think of my experience playing baseball.
Okay. Was there any story or anything that you take with you throughout that college baseball experience that you learned, or something that kind of stuck with you throughout the years?
Yeah, I did. I did, Cal. I had probably the my first leadership lesson that stuck with me and in resonates with me today um, was from my baseball coach, Dave Crichon, Coach Dave, and uh, Dave. I admired Dave. I love Dave. I still do. I stay in touch with him. And I just looked up to him so much. He played professional baseball for probably about 10 years. He played about 10 games in the major leagues. He was a catcher and he played for the Baltimore Orioles. And, I think he only had a handful of at bats, but he had a game winning homer on Monday Night Baseball. And so that was back when, free cable, right? So the Monday night game on ABC you watched because you didn't get a lot of baseball on TV then, and so I loved his stories. I just loved being around him. I was friends with his wife and kids and that. So anyway, that's just setting up how much I admired that guy, and so I was the captain or of the team, and geez, we had a scrimmage where we played, so it didn't count. And you know, I was goofing off. I wasn't taking the scrimmage seriously. I was making jokes about getting through the game, so me and my teammates could go out and have a few pops. And my shirt wasn't tucked in. I didn't I just wasn't taking it seriously. Um, the coach never said anything, and then the next day to start practice, and there's whatever 17 guys on the team, whatever it is. He rips one person, and that was me. And he just went up and down me for not taking it seriously, for goofing off, for doing this, for doing, and I'm sitting there, I was getting really ticked. Like, why me? Why is he singling me out? And so after that, we went to do our infield outfield practice. I played outfield, and I ran by him. And I'll keep the language clean here, but I cursed at him as I ran by him. And I went out to my position in right field, and so he gives the bat to the other coach, and he starts walking out there. And Dave was strong, squatty, hot tempered Italian, right? And he's kind of waddling out there to me, and I'm shaking. I'm like, oh my god, I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to get kicked off the team for swearing at him like that. I don't, this team, my teammates mean so much to me. I was like, oh my god. So he gets out to me, and I'm like, Coach, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And he said, well, you at least had enough sense to say it quietly so nobody else could hear you. And he said, do you know why I singled you out? And I was like, no, that's why I was upset that. And he said, so you're captain of the team, your teammates look up to you, you set the tone for their attitude, and you set a pretty crappy tone. And so being a captain comes with responsibility. So you don't just to get to call you that so you have your name in the yearbook that says captain. You got to take that seriously, and you got all eyes on you, and you need to act accordingly. And I was like, whoa. And then I pursued through my career and had opportunities to be in leadership roles. I remember that, and I take that with me. And I think to just wrap this story up, Cal, one of the things I thought was so funny was I don't know, going back maybe 15 years ago with social media and reconnecting with a lot of people in social media. I wrote him a note, email, and I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that when this happened, that still sticks with me today." And he responded, "Oh, great! I don't even remember that."
Wow. Something you will never forget and something he just, doesn't recall. Maybe he had a lot of moments with like that, but no, that's
Yep.
great. I think some of the biggest lessons I've learned as well came from playing high school and a little bit of college baseball. And it's crazy the fact that you brought up Hug, that some people just don't remember little things. And
Yeah.
I'm in my 6th year of teaching middle school, and I've had on numerous occasions kids come back after taking my class and say, I remember Mr. Denicky when you told me X, Y, or Z. And it's something that I just don't remember because I've had over 500 students so far, but it's awesome to know that you're making an impact on someone in a
Yeah.
leadership role. So we'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that here in a
Yeah.
little bit. But so after you were in Western New York, you
Yeah.
moved across the country. I know you had a pit
Yep.
stop in Louisville as well.
I did.
So how did your experience in education in college kind of lead you to where you're at now with your company, and kind of just dive into like how did you make it out of college?
Yeah. So, Calvin, I got it, and you just said that some of your, people refer to you as Mr. Denicky. And I'm sitting here thinking, he's just a little Cal, man. I mean, this kid said he was a baby. Um, when I was in college, I had my major was in um, business administration. My concentration was in finance. And, my goal coming out of college was I wanted a job where I'd wear a suit and tie. Like I
Mhm.
just felt that was what, like that was okay. That now I've arrived. I'm dressing, in a suit and tie, and so my first jobs coming out, I was aspiring to get into some form of finance. Um, had a couple jobs that weren't directly in that, and then within a year or so after graduating from high school, I got a job at a bank in collections, and then
Mhm.
I just stayed in banking, and lending has been a, the area of finance that I've been a part of and is still a part of. So um, after a while, it was all I knew, right? So I collected loans, and then I, would make loans, and became a branch manager, and in meeting, or for me to meet the goals that I had for myself, I needed to relocate. Buffalo's
Mhm.
there. Of course, there's banks in Buffalo, but if I had an opportunity for promotion, I needed to fly the coop, leave the
Mhm.
nest, and that's why I went to Louisville. That's why I went from Louisville to California, because I just there was no remote working then, and um, I just, that's how I got to California, is following my career.
Hmm. And you knew, it sounds like, that you needed to leave in order to reach the goals you were reaching.
I did. I think, and maybe this is for, you, I would recommend to folks that don't limit yourself, geographically. If, when reaching for what you want in life, whether it's your career or anything else. I mean, you did it, Cal. You went from rural Illinois to, Central Florida, and this is what you're doing for your career.
Yeah, and you gave me some of the best advice I'll always remember. You said, Cal, there's more out there than just the heartland.
Yeah, Macomb, Illinois. When I went out there, I said, your dad, like, where in the hell am I?
And a lot of people say that, and when we've had relatives come for weddings and such, it's like, whoa, we are a long way from
Yeah.
civilization. So
Yep.
I don't know. We could get into that another time about growing up in a small town and everything that I experienced, and I'm forever grateful for it. But I'm also very happy that I've spread my wings a little bit and gone down to Florida and got to experience a lot of things. So when you got to California and started your business, so for those that don't know, Uncle Huggy is the CEO of his mortgage company, American Pacific Mortgage. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like with your idea, with your partner, and kind of where it's gone from the early 2000s until where we're at now?
Yeah, and just kind of maybe recent news within the last week or two. I am now actually not the CEO any longer. I'm the vice chairman.
Okay.
We've promoted a gentleman named Ned Pant to be the CEO, and this is part of me. Cal will be 62 this year.
Hmm.
I've been, president or CEO for, I don't know, 15, 16 years, and I need to work less,
Hmm.
and I'm at some transitioning at some point into retirement. So this is step one. So, but going back to your question, Cal, the company. I joined the company, and it was after, like, the company was open for 2 or 3 years. Um, and when I joined, and then the my partner current partner gave me the opportunity to, be a partner in that company, and we grew from a small mortgage broker, local and regional, to, we're a large national lender. We're probably, depending on the publication you look at, the 25th or 30th largest mortgage company in America. We employ about 3,700 people. We have about 400 branches in 49 states. Ironically, the state I grew up in, we're not there because of a pain in the butt to get licensed in New York. We'll be there at some point, but um, the company. Uh, Look, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of great teammates, and those teammates, have helped me and my partner, create an amazing company. And it's an honor to be able, anytime you employ people, it's an honor. Like, they're getting up every day and they're supporting their family, by coming to work at, my company. And that's something I take seriously each and every day.
That's great. And with you working with so many people, you've met hundreds upon thousands of people over the years, and you've you've been their boss, and you've been their friend, and you've been their colleague, and you've had a extreme leadership position where people trust you and you're able to give good advice. So I want to just know, what are some tips, or what are some things that you've done as a leader to either help inspire or to just kind of pass something on to the people who have worked for you in a position that you're in?
Yeah, and a that's a great question, and it's a hard question. But here, let me back up and just say this, Cal. And in the last couple of years, in the post-COVID world has made this a bit challenging. But here's what I would tell anybody who, aspires to leadership. Leadership is a contact sport. Like, you got to get in and mix it up. It's not about, texting somebody what you want them to do that day. Leadership, um, is way more than, big difference between leading and managing. And um, you gotta get face to face. You gotta engage. You gotta align. You gotta love. You gotta push. All of that. And post COVID, it's like, how do you do that when, for a long time, most of your employees were not coming into the office, and now we're starting to get back, and we're having folks come back, but not everybody's leadership's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So don't do it for the title. Do it because you want to help people, shape people, um, get results, that you might not get if like that you weren't otherwise, helping people achieve what they might not be able to achieve without your leadership. That's, some of the things that um, I aspire to as a leader. So, but yeah, it's a contact sport, Cal. You got to initiate contact.
That's right. So we've talked a little bit about geography, and I've been out to visit you a few times in Northern California, and every time I've been there, it's been nothing but fun, nothing but good energy. And I kind of want to know, with your experience growing up in the Buffalo area and then moving out to California, and just things that we talked earlier today about the difference between narrow minds and open minds, and things that you've been in experience with out in California. What has kind of shaped you in the differences maybe in where you grew up to where you're at now, and just kind of how you've changed as a kid until what you're
Yeah.
about now.
And where I probably got to be careful not to offend, anybody from Hamburg, or your dad, God love him. So, and some of it, I think, Cal, is the geographic changes, and some of it is time.
Hmm.
What the world was like in the 1970s versus where it is today. But I'll just say this about, among the many things I love about where I live in California is, I feel like California is um, most open-minded place that I've ever lived, and being open to, you know, um, lifestyles, life choices, race, you name it. I think California is just more open. And look, and touching on some of this stuff, and we still got a long way to go as a country. Don't get me wrong. This is not nirvana, but it has been a place where I've been proud to raise my kids, and to have them experience um, diversity, and more diversity than um, I experienced at growing up in Western New York.
Right. Yeah, I think anytime I've come out to visit you on the few occasions that I have, we just kind of open our minds up to everything. And
Yep.
like you had just mentioned, and it's great that we formed the relationship that we have. So I just wanted to touch on that, because every time I converse with you or talk or whatever it might be, I just have this vision in the future of maybe one of my friends' kids, or one of my um, someone who's younger than me might want to, connect with me in the future, like I have with you and my dad being best friends. So I kind of want you to just touch on the relationship between you and my dad, and how you and I have become friends over the years, and can travel out and see each other. And I just find it so special, and just to kind of touch on just relationships in general and friendships, and kind of have those have transpired over the years.
I think it's really rare that you have that your best friend in first grade is your best friend today. And when I tell people about that, and I have a couple of close friends in that I went, to grade school with, and we're all still in touch with each other. And when I tell people that, they're shocked. They're like, I don't even know anybody from fourth grade. So, and I have been through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, um, with your dad. And, but it's it's a given, that he's there for me, and it's a given that I'm there for him. So um he's he's like a brother, or maybe even closer than a brother. So um and then and then so you take then interest in your families, and so getting to know, and that's given me the honor to get to know, you and your two brothers. And
Hmm.
um there I'm godfather to your brother Eli.
Hmm.
And we didn't even baptize him in a church. We grabbed some water. I think I Googled, that was before Googled. I don't know. I did a little research on how do you baptize somebody and make it official. And I baptized Eli, and I'm his godfather.
Hmm.
Um, so that's, I think that's a testament to my relationship with your dad as well.
Yeah. No, I just think it's so special. I've got some friends who I've known since grade school, and I'm still in touch with them, and I plan on being in touch with them until we're old and wrinkly, and it's just cool. And I think it touches on putting in the effort to stay in touch with people is so important, because you can lose friends if you don't stay in touch, or maybe, like as you said earlier, social media brings you back together and you can reconnect with people. And I don't know, I'm such a people person, and it's part of the reason I wanted to start this podcast, is to just connect with people and share stories. And I just love the fact that we're doing this and have continued to remain in touch over the years.
Me too. I'll tell you a funny story about your dad, and how, in many ways, me and your dad are alike. In many ways, we're different, like all human beings, right?
Hmm.
So I was recently on vacation, and I did some snorkeling and just different things outside. And I had sent your dad a text saying that I had done that, and that I just really like connecting with nature.
Hmm.
Um, and he responded back something along the lines of, "Who the heck are you? I think we need to talk."
Yeah.
And I know your dad watches this, so this is gonna be fun after he sees this.
Oh yeah. That response doesn't surprise me at all. So I uh I wanted to talk a little bit about three words that are pretty popular in America today, and that's light the beam.
Oh, Cal, now we're talking. I don't know exactly when that started or how that started, but it was early on in the Sacramento Kings NBA in their season this year, that after a win, on a home or road win, after a win, they shoot a laser beam up into the sky that can be a purple laser beam. It can be seen for miles and miles and miles. And so it has really taken hold. The city of Sacramento has rallied around that. The team has rallied around it. For your basketball fans out there, last night was game one of the Kings versus the Warriors. Now, the Kings have not been in the playoffs since 2006. It was this year they broke the longest drought in all four major sports. So the Golden One Center where they play was just lit last night, and it was a great, great game. Close game, went down to the wire. I mean, the Warriors are great. Warriors are defending champions. But anytime we play the Warriors only 90 miles down the road.
Mhm.
So, these teams are kind of related. And so we won. And then over by the the press row, they have the big button for the beam,
Mhm.
and the whole crowd, and De'Aaron Fox was the one who hit the button, is yelling, light the beam. And then he hits it, and everybody goes crazy. And then you go outside, leaving the arena, and everybody's standing back taking pictures or videos of the beam. And
Mhm.
It was awesome. And so, game two tomorrow night, light the beam.
Yeah, and you told me that was the most or one of the most electric sporting events you've ever been to in your life, and you've been to a lot going back to the Bills in the 90s. And
Yeah.
would you rank that number one? What was it like in there last night?
Boy, I will tell you, I've been to um, a lot of Bills games. I've been to a couple Super Bowls, a World Series game. And I've seen the Stanley Cup get carried around. I've been to an NBA Finals when the Warriors were playing the Cavs. I've never seen an arena like this
Mm,
this that had this much excitement. Um, and look, I'm Bills Mafia, so that's putting it way up there. But it was, I think, you know what, like 16 years of pent up frustration
mm.
was unleashed last night.
Well, it was amazing to watch on TV, and Malika Andrews was interviewing De'Aaron Fox as they pushed the button, so they did it live, and she said,
Okay,
for the first time in ESPN history, we're gonna light the beam with De'Aaron Fox. So that was really cool to see, and I I'm just so excited about these NBA playoffs. So I'm glad you could share with you being there and with all the celebrities that were there, 50 Cent and Barry Bonds and
yep,
Jason Williams and Vladi and all them. It just looked like an amazing atmosphere.
yeah, it was so cool, and I just think I think the NBA playoffs are going to be great this year, Cal.
Hmm.
Um, I know you're back east. I don't know the East as much as I know the West. I'm a King season ticket holder, so I see more teams from the West in the time zone. Sometimes it's hard to watch a game in the East, but I think the West is going to be is going to be tough.
Hmm.
But the Kings are legit.
Awesome. Well, I like to wrap up my podcast with just something on your mind, whether it's a book, a movie you've seen recently, a
Mm,
documentary, or just something that has
yeah,
kind of sparked your interest lately. If there was anything that you wanted to share about, and
yeah.
just what do you
Um,
got for me, Hug?
so I started a little bit ago, and I'm going in order, and I'm reading a biography of. I'm going to read a biography of every president.
Hmm.
Um, I might skip one of them, but we don't need to turn this thing political. But and I like history. I like leadership. Reading about presidents has been really fun. So I don't know. I'm about I don't know, seven, eight or nine presidents in right now. I just read William Henry Harrison, who was the president who died after 28 days of pneumonia. So he's
Mm,
the shortest serving president in the history of our company. But in each of them, you learn something, and you learn something about leadership. I mean, these are people that have sat in the most powerful leadership seat in the world. So it's fun to read those. And at some point, I'm going to get through to all of them. So um, John Tyler's next. I got the book sitting on my counter. So
I like that. I haven't heard of someone who's going to go through all of them, but that's great. So, Uncle Huggy, I appreciate your time. This has been so fun, and I hope to get out to Northern California this summer if I can squeeze it in and get to spend a weekend with you and Sharon. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate it.
So Cal, maybe let's just agree next time um, we do it in person because leadership's a contact sport. So let's do this. Let's just do this next one in person.
That sounds good to me.
All right, Cal. Good. Thanks for this. Love you.
Love you too.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
bye bye.